team, it's Tom Deacon. Clearly British, clearly wearing glasses. Except it's really not. Much less funny, much less British. But hey guys, I'm back. Indiana Froskurinn Black, and it's time for another episode of NitroNights. Hello and welcome back to NitroNights. We've got all of your classics tonight, like the Newsflash and the Social Showroom, as well as taking a look at sim racing as well as arcade racing, and a very special guest. YouTube extraordinaire Tom Matthews will be taking a spin with us around the Hotlap in Trackmania later on, but until then, check this out.
Tom Matthews has been a petrolhead his entire life, watching F1 and Top Gear religiously, and even doing his own Top Gear parodies in GTA 5. These videos exploded in popularity, and his channel now boasts over 70,000 subscribers. Matthews even promoted the British GP, which didn't go quite according to plan. It resulted in him driving a burning aerial atom around Silverstone. During lockdown, the normally arcade and simcade-focused influencer got into the sim racing world. He competed in a 100% distance race of the British GP, raising £300 for the National Health Service while doing so. With this in mind, he's hoping to create even more sim racing content in the future.
It's with extreme pleasure that we get to welcome Tom Matthews to the show, because we don't just want to talk about racing personalities, we want to talk with them. So Tom, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay. That's a very generous introduction you had for me there. Thank you very much.
We had a couple runs at it. It's all good. Starting off, I really want to, because the thing is I pulled up your YouTube page and I started watching. I was like, wow, videos from 5 years ago, videos from 7 years ago, videos, and it just kept going up. I was like, this guy's been at this for a very long time. Can you kind of walk me through the process of where you started to where you are now?
Yeah, so it's quite a funny story because my channel never started off as gaming content. It started off with a very, very silly show that I made called Toast, which in the email it mentioned, could you please tell us a bit about that? Which I was hoping you wouldn't say. But regardless, it's, I think I was 14, 15 when I made it. So I couldn't drive. I think the only thing I had was a bicycle. And you mentioned in the intro, I was a massive fan of Top Gear. So I couldn't really do car reviews. So I did stupid YouTube challenges like you used to have back in the day, like Cinnamon Challenge, making a smoothie out of random things. And I think we did one of my favorite videos back then was I think I had a bicycle and my mate had a GoPro. So I strapped the GoPro to the bicycle and I raced a bus to like a seaside town near me. So it was like one of the Top Gear epic races, except I was on a bicycle and my mate was on public transport. But that's what it was. It was just crazy YouTube, real life content.
I think that is
which
that is like the most epitome of YouTube. You're like, I've got a GoPro, I've got a bike, I can't drive a car, so what am I going to do? Strap it to my mate.
Yeah, exactly. That's the brilliant thing with YouTube. It's but I think YouTube's changed a lot over the last few years. But back then it was a lot more simpler. I feel now you've got full on productions for YouTube videos, which is phenomenal. It's an entire platform on its own. And I think that's why I ended up going to gaming content, because I saw that was a very big thing. I like video games. And I started with GTA Top Gear, which was very successful.
It's crazy too, because you talk about it being a just basically like a production company or a platform for you, because your videos became super cinematic and how you were using it. Almost reminds me a lot of kind of Red versus Blue, like that old school type of style.
Yes,
and like
exactly.
The humor, the cuts, and you've just increased over time. Do you think is it always just like YouTube content, or would you want to move more into like TV, movies? Because it's pretty clear that you have like an eye for how the mechanics of everything works.
It's so I studied media studies back in school. I did film studies, and then I went to university and I studied television and broadcasting. So I've always wanted to make or be part of TV production, and it's always fascinated me, the whole production process. And I think that's why I loved making GTA Top Gear, because there's other versions of GTA Top Gear or GTA car shows out there. But I treated it like a genuine production. We wrote scripts, we wrote like challenges. It was a big production. And I think the love and the care that went into it was seen by quite a lot of people, which I was very grateful for.
No, I think that is very apparent. One watching it, I was like, I'll watch this for 5 minutes, and like 15 minutes later, I was still laughing about it. So thank you for at least entertaining me.
It was mad because. Sorry, I was going to say, we ended up getting big YouTubers on. We had, I think we had AR12 Gaming. We had Bruffy, who's like well known in the car community with GTA 5 car testing. We had GTA Wise Guy. These YouTubers had like so many more followers than what I had. And for them to be like, yeah, we'd love to come on the show. That was mad. It was crazy.
It's always amazing when indie stuff and grassroots stuff like that takes off. But at this point of our interview, we are now putting into the quick fire round. I believe my producer has braced you for this, but just as a reminder, it's just like instinctual. You just got to answer as quickly as possible. Nothing will really throw you here. So you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Favorite racing game?
Forza Motorsport 4.
Okay. Favorite driver?
Oh, Ayrton Senna.
Easy, I guess. Favorite car?
My one.
What is it?
Fiesta ST.
Okay. Playing alone with or against friends?
Against.
And sausage roll or fish and chips?
Oh, sausage roll. Any day of the week. Has to be from Greg's, though.
Partial to team sausage roll. And then finally, arcade versus simulation.
Arcade. Gonna go on a limb and say that.
Wow, I actually think that might be a little bit controversial. And speaking of which, our deep dive segment will cover arcade versus sim racing. But if you guys need an update on it, be sure to check out this video.
When Project Cars 3 won the Gamescom Award for Best Simulation, many racing fans just shook their heads. To understand their unwillingness to accept Project Cars 3 as a sim, we need to have a look at the differences between simulation and arcade games. Arcade and simulation games primarily differ in terms of controls and setting. Basically, a sim tries to replicate driving in the real world as authentically as possible. Real cars and tracks combined with accurate physics bring the full atmosphere of real racing into living rooms. An arcade game breaks the steering down to basics to make it easier to handle with a simple controller and thus more accessible. The setting often remains more or less reality-based, which is typical for games such as Need for Speed. The series wants players to take a trip into all aspects of illegal street racing, such as tuning or chases. For entertainment's sake, the action sometimes becomes a bit surreal though. The next level of arcade racing games is creating a fictional setting to make any kind of gameplay possible. Fun racers like Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing are devoted to this philosophy. In addition, On Rush, for example, presents fairly realistic car models, but also totally overdriven boost mechanics and ridiculous jumps. In Blur, you can drive licensed cars, but shoot other players using power-ups, like in Mario Kart. Every combination is possible. Called simcades like F1, Forza Motorsport and Gran Turismo are classed as sims by providing many setup possibilities and proper physics, while being quite forgiving with driving errors. These games are also playable with a controller with driving aids turned on. Striking this balance is where Project Cars 3 fails. It tries to be as accessible as possible and provides many setup options as well. However, these become effectively redundant because they show no recognizable effect, so the driving experience never feels as authentic as in Gran Turismo F1 or Forza. This explains why so many people refuse to acknowledge PC3 as the sim it so badly wants to be.
Tom, how did you perceive the whole Gamescom fiasco with Project Cars 3?
Well, I tweeted about it with two laughing emojis. It's quite funny. It's funny because Project Cars 1 and 2 were very simulation. I have played them, and I struggled with a controller because I didn't have a wheel back then. So I got a wheel about a year or so ago, and I've played it since, and it was actually really good fun. But Project Cars 3, it's funny because it's an arcade game, but it's a continuation of Project Cars. I think the way that I described it to my friends was, I don't know if you've seen the film Mamma Mia, but I promise this is going somewhere. Mamma Mia 1 and 2 they're comedy rom-com sing-alongs.
Okay.
If they were to make Mamma Mia 3 and it'd be a psycho murder mystery thriller, it'd be a bit weird. And I feel like that's what they've done with Project Cars 3. They've named it something that it really shouldn't be. I think I've seen a handful of comments on YouTube saying they should have called it, for argument's sake, Project Cars Horizon, or just give it the name. But then instead of it being 3, they should have given it like a sub name so that it's the Project Cars franchise, but it's different.
What do you think about the whole discussion in terms of accessibility? Because I can understand from a developer's point of view that if you are trying to make money off of a product or trying to make a product for the most usable user face, then we already heard the accessibility of having all of these different options about how you're going to do it. And kind of the almost elitism that comes with sim racing.
Mm-hmm. It's I think it's a big topic of conversation. I think there's always going to be differences between the arcade and the sim racing community. And I can see the benefits of both, and I can also see the cons of both. I think sim racing's a lot more expensive. To get a wheel, to get possibly a racing seat, costs more than just buying the game and a controller.
I mean, you recently outfitted your system over quarantine, yeah?
Yes, it's I think as soon as I got my first full-time job, like last year, the first thing I got when I got my payslip was I bought myself a play seat and a Logitech wheel. I didn't want to go nuts on it because I didn't know if I'd like it.
How much did it hurt? Just
no,
to
I absolutely love it now.
Drop the bank.
Yeah, I didn't want to go all out, but no, I've got I'd say a relatively cheap setup. There are cheaper, I'd imagine, but it really does the job. I absolutely love it. And I think it's good to have the option, but I understand some people don't necessarily agree because there is, I think, as you mentioned, there's an elitism with sim racing compared to arcade. But yeah, I don't know. It just depends on the mindset that I'm in. If I'm in a more relaxed kind of mood, I'll just hop on Forza or something and play about. And saves me concentrating.
In terms of the content of your channel, because obviously it's a little bit difficult with, like F1 2020 to be making synthetic or I guess pseudo TV shows, if you will, versus what you were able to do with GTA. Is there a specific game that you think really fits in your channel right now, or one that you're really looking forward to kind of continue your production storytelling YouTube content, or do you think you'll go more of the sim racing relaxation style?
It's it's a funny one because I'm looking forward. I'm in the process at the moment of kind of revamping the channel. It's playing all these sim games over the last few months has really got me thinking. And I'm big fans of the likes of Jimmy Broadbent, Super GT. They are great personalities for the community, and I look up to them, and that's the kind of content that I'd like to make eventually. Mainly because I want to try and stray away from the whole production thing, because I've thoroughly been enjoying Twitch, but it's not to say that I'd leave it out entirely. But in terms of what I look for in a game is I like the creative tools, like Dirt 5 with the whole playground thing coming out. That is phenomenal. But then I also quite like a replay editor, so I can make cinematic content, something that Forza's got. It's quite bare bones, but it's there. I think there's another content creator, name drops here, Don John Song. He makes phenomenal content using the replay editor, and it is so bare bones. It blows my mind how much time he probably spends on doing them. But then on the other hand, Assetto Corsa, one of my personal favorite sim racing games, has got not a replay editor, but it's got replay camera angles, so you can do like a few laps around Brands Hatch, say, and then I could get different camera angles to make it feel more of like a TV broadcast. So there's scope in both games for creative content, like how I make it.
I just think that stuff is always so cool. Now, we're not quite done with you yet, Tom. You need to join me now on our social showroom. So essentially what you're going to see is on your screen, you'll see some tweets, maybe some YouTube comments, although I'm sure you really look forward to YouTube comments. But we're going to start this one. Pretty easy. We're actually just celebrating on Overtake. It's been 100 days since we've been on the air. So all we really need from this, Tom, are you like a woo girl? Can I get like a woo?
Woo!
That was
I
actually
would get out my pom poms and start cheering, but
that was impressive. All right. One more plug, though. Our next one, we've got Dirt Rally 2.0, where we did an article and they actually retweeted it. Have you played this game?
I have. I made a video on the channel about Dirt Rally 2.0. It's that game's tough. That game is not easy. Really enjoyed it. I like a challenge, and Dirt's good. Dirt Rally 2.0, good game.
Okay. Third one, this one I actually think is the YouTube comment. And this one's interesting because we had Chris Hayes on the show a couple of weeks ago, good friend of the show, and he made the sentiment that VR wasn't necessarily the next step for sim racing, that it was more about feedback and realistic physics. But I see comments like this all the time that, it's such a shame that this game doesn't have VR support. Do you have a feeling one way or the other?
Yeah, when VR first came out, I always thought it'd make sense to have it for racing games, because I find when you've got I can't think of a VR Half-Life that came out. You got this huge world that you can explore, but you're only confined to a small space with the headset on. You can't you can't walk around your house. And I think with a racing game, you're sitting in a seat, so to have a VR headset to be in the car makes a lot of sense to me. I think if you were to have like a flight sim. Any game where you're sitting down, I think a VR headset's a really cool idea. But from what Chris was saying, I can totally understand that you'd want to have more, better force feedback or a better feel for the car within these games. But I think it's just a matter of, I think VR is just a nice option to have. I think it's always nicer to have more with a game, more, instead of just
more
being
tools.
A controller and a wheel. Yeah, exactly.
And our final tweet is actually poking some fun at Ferrari. I don't know if you've been keeping up, but
oh yeah,
I'm told that it's a very accurate representation.
Oh dear! Oh, look at all those. This is brilliant. Look at all the logos. That's fantastic. Yeah. What have they done? Those poor guys. I feel so sorry for them. Poor Charles and Vettel. They deserve better.
Okay, but we've finished our social showroom. That's still not all that's left. Now you actually need to take a spin with me in Trackmania for our Hotlap. Welcome to the Hotlap. Now, Tom, you've got 3 minutes to make your fastest lap time around the course. Currently, the fastest time is held by Tommy at 53 seconds, but as long as you beat Tom Deacon at 1 minute and 37 seconds, I'll consider it a win. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Don't know if you know this, but I'm a commentator for another video game, so I'm really curious what this is going to look like and if I'm going to get some good... Oh, okay. Good start. Good start.
All right.
Okay, a little bit
Short
of a drift.
as long as possible through there.
I feel like this game is just about how quickly you get used to the physics. Ooh, nice through the S-turns.
Right, it's bit... No!
Super impressed. Already looking really clean. A little bit of bumpy through there.
Spoke too soon.
I spoke too soon. Man, when they put me on this, they gave me a way harder course. Okay, good boost, good launch.
Oh, less than a minute.
Okay, what? That was 58 seconds?
58.
Okay,
I can do better than that.
You're basically bang on even for second place. I don't know if silver is good enough for you.
Oh no, I'm going for gold.
Okay. I feel like that means that we can't fumble on the S curves anymore. Okay, production's trolling me. I had a way harder course. What is this?
No! Okay, still got grip.
Okay, you didn't lose speed though.
No!
Oh no!
It's this sausage-shaped road. It's put me off.
What kind of sausages are you eating?
Not flat ones. This.
Okay, this one's a wash. This one's a wash.
Slow down there. Yeah, I'm just gonna start again.
Okay, go. You are like
Dab of brakes.
0.02 seconds slower than second place right now. I really appreciate Vodafone getting its sponsorship in the background. I don't think I've ever gotten those speeds. Thanks, Vodafone.
Oh, okay, that's better. Slower, but it's clean. No, it's not. I'm off the track.
Really good first start.
Yeah. Sector 1, I feel like I'm okay, but it just goes all to pot after that.
I'm being told that there's a technical. They're dequalifying you from the last race, and you got a strong third. So you missed second place by like 0.002 seconds.
I want to have a word with the stewards about that. I want an inquiry.
All right. Thank you so much, Tom Matthews, for joining us, talking everything YouTube. I think we had a bunch of different comments. Do you have anything to say as kind of your parting words?
No, just thank you very much for having me on. I'll be creating content soon, I promise. But yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. It's always great to talk of all things esports, cars, sim racing. Yeah, thank you very much.
Amazing. Now, while we will say goodbye to Tom Matthews, we still have more time with me because it's the Newsflash that's coming right up. Finally, it's my time to get a hold of Newsflash, and we're going to open the gates with the Porsche Carrera Cup Final. Now, the Porsche Carrera Cup Final took place this past weekend. Sim racers, as well as real-world drivers, fought in the 15,000 euro race room tournament. The victory, and with it, 7,000 euros, went to the German Moritz Luna, who previously won both semifinals. He raced his way past 3,500 other drivers just to qualify, finally winning the title for Williams Esports. Now, Spaniard Nesta Garcia came second. Moving on from past events, let's take a look at the ones coming up. The Trackmania Grand League is starting its second season next weekend. From the September 13th onwards, it is time again for the 16 of the world's best Trackmania drivers to show what they're made of. We'll see if Canadian driver Carl Jr. can defend his title in the new iteration of the long-running racing franchise. Now, Tom Matthews demonstrated just a few moments ago how to handle the game, and hopefully the racers are faster than him. But the Trackmania Grand Final isn't the only thing coming up this weekend. DOS Race will finally have its first real competition. You may remember DOS Race is the strange idea where the drivers play a game but drive remote cars over in Los Angeles. The drivers can even pick up items. This gives the whole thing a real Mario Kart vibe. Pretty crazy stuff. Trust me, I know. This weekend, the drivers taking part will be more diverse than any other race. They range from actors, musicians, drag queens, maybe even your local NitroNights host. You probably won't find a lineup of drivers like this anywhere else. You can tune into DOS Race on the Level Global Twitch channel. That's LVL Global at Twitch. Nintendo seems to have the same idea and announced Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. Here, you also control a cart and use items in augmented reality, but this time, drives in your living room. Now that's it with the Newsflash for this week. And that's it for our most recent episode of NitroNights. Reminder, guys, that you can catch us every single Wednesday night, and be sure to follow us on social media at overtake_GG. Till then, see you next time.